Hi from Los Angeles. Welcome back to Good Morning La La Land on this hashtag Transformation Tuesday. It is the perfect timing for a conversation with the world's greatest formulator, Shawn Wells. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So how did you earn such an accolade, the world's greatest formulator?
That is pretty good, and I didn't give that to myself. I am a nutritional biochemist, registered dietitian, certified sports nutritionist, fellow in the International Society of Sports Nutrition, and I've been all over the world to talk on these subjects: biohacking, supplements, keto. I've been keto for 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
You invented keto.
I know, I didn't even know it existed 20 years
Exactly.
ago.
Well, keto is a very buzzy word here in La La Land, but for viewers elsewhere, tell us, what is the keto lifestyle and diet?
Yeah, so keto is extremely low carbohydrate, very high fat diet. And most people think, okay, it's got to be bacon and, just eating hamburgers all day, and that's what keto is. But keto is actually macronutrients. It's about 70 to 75% fat as calories, about 5% of your calories coming from carbs, and then 20 to 25% protein. So you can be vegan and be keto. You could be carnivore, which is only meat, and be keto. You could eat junk food and be keto. You could be paleo and be keto. So there's a lot of ways to achieve it, and I think that's where it gets confusing on maybe the results some people are getting or how to achieve it.
So, if somebody does follow this the right way, though, what results could somebody expect? I mean, what are the benefits from a keto lifestyle?
Well, the problem is right now, I think if we were to go back like several thousand years, maybe even a couple hundred years, we would have often been in ketosis because we had to work harder to get our food, which is caloric expenditure. Food wasn't as available. We had high fiber foods that were lower glycemic, and therefore we weren't always in a state of a glucogenic diet with starches and processed foods and what they call high bliss point foods that trigger dopamine and serotonin.
Bliss point.
The Lays, you can't just eat one.
Right?
Yeah. They're foods that are engineered so that you overeat. It overrides satiety. But if you were to go back, even starches used to be resistant starches. If you ate a potato, a raw potato, or you ate a green banana, those were resistant starches. So even carbohydrates could have been ketogenic. But we're in such a state now that we're eating every couple hours. We're eating processed foods. We're eating high sugar, high bliss point foods, and so we never get in ketosis anymore. But it was very common. We used to fast/starve if we didn't have food, and that gets you in ketosis. But we're overeating now. We're engineered to overeat. The foods are engineered to overeat.
Right. So I know that there's a lot of misconceptions with the keto diet, but what's the difference health-wise if you achieve ketosis eating meat or vegetables or being vegan? Like, does it affect your health, or are you saying being in ketosis is the key?
I think because we are on the edge of metabolic syndrome, basically because we have so much glucose in our diet and insulin stays elevated, and we're triggering inflammation, glycation, which is blood sugar damage, oxidation, that these are running rampant, and that's really mitochondrial damage, mitochondrial dysfunction, and that's a little bit more complicated, but that's a big reason for almost every disease in aging is mitochondrial dysfunction. But if we look at ketosis helps give you that alternate fuel when these mitochondria are struggling to use the glucose as well. And because we have too much glucose, this is helpful as far as an energy source, and also like to break down additional fat, because when insulin stays elevated, we can't break down fat as well.
Right.
We don't get into what's called lipolysis.
Right. But does it matter if you go to ketosis with a meat-based diet or vegetable?
I don't think so. I think you can be vegan or carnivore and it's healthy. There's animals out there that are vegan and carnivore and they're healthy. The problem is, if we were to go back just 100 years ago, I mean, what's changed? What's changed?
Everything.
It's RBST, RBGH, antibiotics, GMOs, artificial sweeteners, ultra-processed foods, food being engineered.
Mainly in this country, too.
Right, but it's not necessarily, it was never meat. It was never the vegetables. I mean, we're arguing over those things, but the thing that's changed is these ultra-processed foods.
So how can we hack ourselves? Biohacking is very buzzy, and a lot of people don't really understand what that means or if it's safe.
Hacking ourselves, one thing that's important, the scientific method is doing one thing at a time. I will throw that out there. Like if you're doing 100 things at a time, you have no idea what's going on. So doing one thing at a time. I definitely believe in the power of supplements when they're used correctly, when you buy good ones. I think avoid supplements that have proprietary blends. They have like 20 ingredients and high dosage. And you want each ingredient listed, where their dose, their form, so you can look them up. Oh, this is the dose that's in the study. Then they're effective. And then I think doing something, keto is cool, but I think you have to start with, again, that whole food diet. Let's start there. Let's get rid of the processed food, the sugar. Because sometimes it's too much of a transition to go from, M&M's, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's to trying to be keto.
Right. It's very difficult. Sure.
Let's just get you off the processed food first, get you on a lower sugar diet, and then we can talk about keto.
A little earlier you mentioned 5%. Was it 5% carbs? Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know how to translate that. So what would that be? Is that like an M&M? Or is that like, what is that? What is 5%?
It's not much. It's a couple hundred calories, but I think ideally you're looking at higher fiber. Fiber is carbohydrate. So, yes, you could have a couple cheat things, but I reserve my cheat for what's called a cyclical ketogenic diet. So one day a week, I have whatever I want. And that way, if I go out with friends, we go to a movie, we go to a party, I don't feel like I'm restricted. And I've been doing this 20 years, so if I go to a wedding and I want to have cake, I have cake.
Right.
Wow, you've given me a lot of solace, because on my Sunday is like my cheat day, and I just eat everything like available. So I'm feeling better about that at least. I was kind of getting concerned, like my whole diet has to be shifted.
Look, if you were to eat one salad one day a week and then eat garbage the rest of the week, would that make you healthy?
No.
No. And the reverse is true too. If you're eating healthy the majority of the time and then one day or one meal a week, you're having whatever you want, it's not a big deal in the long run.
I know that you've helped a lot of people, and there's a woman especially that you helped cure her literally of cancer. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes, I'm not a physician. I want to throw that out there. And when she came to me, I said, I can't replace your physician. I can tell you what I would do for myself, because I don't want the liability for that. But she had stage 4 glioblastoma multiforme, which is brain cancer, and it's usually a death sentence. And she was told she had 6 weeks to live and was taken off of chemo and radiation. And she said, what can I do? I'm going to be buried in 6 weeks. And that was intense. And I told her again, I'm not your physician. I can tell you what I would do in your circumstance. I would do a strict ketogenic diet. You can't do cyclical or targeted ketogenic diets when you have cancer. And glucose, by the way, spreads cancer. So that's one of the ways that, like, if you get on a ketogenic diet and limit glucose, that you can limit the spread of cancer.
Any kind of sugar, even with fruit? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So when I walk into the doctor's office to get treated, and there's a candy jar there.
Exactly, it's terrible.
We have one at the dentist's office. That's weird. Anyways,
I added intermittent fasting, IV vitamin C, hyperbaric oxygen chamber, some mitochondrial health supplements like I was talking about before, PQQ, CoQ10, and some things for methylation, which methylation errors are related to cancer, like creatine. And
creatine is related to cancer, or creatine something you
creatine
want
is
to
protective.
Goodness, I'm learning. I gotta do research.
It's a good methylator.
You're a wealth of wisdom.
And methylation protects DNA.
Okay, I don't even know what methylator means, but keep going.
If people wanted to learn more about that and all of your expertise, please tell everyone where they can find and follow your journey.
Yes, ShawnWells.com, ShawnWells, and then @ZoneHalo on Instagram. But 6 weeks later, 90% reduction in her tumor, no chemo, no radiation, living, happy. I asked her, did anyone tell you about any of the stuff I told you about? And she said, no, no one. They wrote me off. She actually went to her physician and asked her about all these things I told her, and he laughed.
Wow.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that story. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on Good Morning La La Land.